Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another live reaction and player ratings live stream following another dropping off points by Chelsea. Hey, we didn't lose. We didn't lose. When was the last time we didn't lose at Stamford Bridge? When was that? The 2-2 draw against Everton under Potter before the international break? I think that was the last time we didn't lose at the Bridge. So, progress if you want, but obviously we are still bloody charity FC. The only positive spin you can put on it is that we're trying to keep Forest up rather than Leeds. So that's proper Chelsea at least. You got to do what you got to do. Now, it's just, well, what can you even say at this point? Like, we weren't great, not by any means. I think the goalie, Mendy, should have saved both goals. Sterling all of a sudden turns up. His second goal is an absolute screamer. We go 2-1 up, turn the game around. Another thing, when was the last time we turned the game around? And 1 minute later, it's back to 2-2. And after that, there wasn't really much more happening, was there? Forest doing a lot of time wasting all game long from the first half, going into the second half. It wasn't fun, but hey, season's nearly over, so that's good. But Pice, I'll start with you. What can you even say at this point, man? Like, do we clutch on the positives that, like, oh yeah, Sterling for once did something? Or is it just but my problem is that I'm like, well, we are safe. We're fighting for nothing. We're literally 11th with basically no chance of even getting to 10th. How many of these players are really going to try their very hardest? I don't know. And unfortunately, you're seeing that. And I'm not exactly surprised by it, if I'm honest. I'm surprised that we even got a point. So, if you go into expecting to lose, even a point is a good result. But, Pice, judging from the tweets I've seen from you, not quite as able to put a little bit of a positive spin on it, but how do you feel, man? This is just frustrating at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I mentally clocked out of being truly pissed off at poor results a long time ago, but, I just try and avoid the stats, really, because, like, every time we draw or lose, there's, like, a new stat that we've broken for the first time since, like, 20 years ago or something. Like, today it was like we've given Forest their first point in 5 months. It's like, it just gets worse and worse. Like, when you look deep into it, it's obviously, it just makes you feel depressed. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I just want the season to end. There's nowhere really we can go in the Premier League table. It's for me, it's just about really looking at body language right now, I think. Trying to just pick up any positives, from players. I don't know, like, even, Frank Lampard's, choices, I'm getting pissed off at the lineups and stuff, but, last couple of games, his lineups in terms of, like, the goals we've scored and stuff like that have actually, proved to be all right. So I don't even think there's much, to even, like, look at the lineups anymore. Like, I might as well just not say anything and just watch the game. Like, I just don't, I don't know. It's just vibes FC at this point. It has been for a little while. But yeah, I thought we would win once we got the second goal. But am I surprised we conceded like 2 minutes after? No, absolutely not. It's it is what it is. We can't go anywhere. So I don't think we can finish higher than 11th. So I mean,
theoretically, I think we could, because we're like now, I think 7 points behind 11.
Yeah, it depends on Brentford and stuff like that. But who cares?
We're not going to flip and beat City and United and Newcastle. Let's be honest. Now we might, by luck, win one of them, but we're most certainly not winning more than one. I don't even think we're going to win one, right? So
I'd rather
catching anybody.
I'd rather finish on the second page of the table, so then at the end of the season, people can't just, that, like, because you never really get like the second half of the table posted anywhere, but the first top 10 always gets posted. Like, oh, where did your club finish? So let's just forget Chelsea exists, all right? It's not finished 10th.
It's very, very true. It's very true. My God. It's difficult these days. Adash, thank you for coming back on. Thank you for, sitting here with us in Misery Corner. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, if you're new here, appreciate you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button. It helps me spread these streams out to more people. I know it's difficult, and I assume a lot of Chelsea fans are like, why watch a post-match reaction to something? It's nothing to fight for. We bottled it again. Not much positive to look at. I understand. So the ones of you that are here, appreciate you very much. But Adash, I mean, what can you even say at this point? The first goal, we go 1-0 down, and as usual, because we weren't good, but like I don't think we were like absolutely shocking from like the get-go. But then obviously conceding one, and then you have to chase it again, and then we actually turn it around, but you bottle it straight after, and you're like, I will be a little harsh on Mendy when we get to it, but at the same time, I'm like, well, you haven't played in God knows how long, so I'm not exactly shocked by this. But why did you play? I mean, it wasn't a sending off, getting to say goodbye, but why in this game then? I mean, I guess Forest is easier than like Newcastle, but it's not going our way, is it?
Yeah, thank you for having me back on. I think just take the positives of the way we've been playing over the last couple of games. It hasn't been this bad. We've made a little bit of improvement, but I think at this point most of us are just like done with the season. So the performances themselves and the end results don't matter. I mean, I kind of just like forgot about the score line at the end of the match because it really didn't matter. But I mean, like even the 0.96 xg is probably higher than like our last, apart from Bournemouth, like our last 6 games combined. So I think I mean it's not been like depressing bad, or it's not been like total depression bad, but it's been like today wasn't very good. I think overall, like Pai said, I didn't have too many complaints about the lineup, but it was just overall this kind of like lethargy in the team. Like people were just making these kind of like mistakes that we've made all season, these individual mistakes which lead to the opponent having chances or the opponent scoring goals, and then that's just so demoralizing as a fan, even when you try not to like get emotionally like bogged down by it.
Yeah, I mean, you try. I mean, I got this up on screen now by the XG philosophy. I assume their stats are correct, right? We played 2-2, but by XG, we didn't even deserve that. Do you know what I mean? So that's the next one. Although I'm a little bit surprised that Forest XG is supposedly that high, because, I mean, I guess they had one other chance from that other set piece where they nearly got the tap in at the far post from the flick on, but both of their goals, in my opinion, should have been avoided by Mendy. I mean, the second one was basically straight at him. He touched it with his arm. He just didn't get his, I don't know, body control right to actually save it. And I mean, the less said about the first goal, the better. But obviously, we will talk about it. But I mean, Pice, when you see that doesn't really make it better, does it? I mean, I guess it underlines how good of a goal, especially the second one by Sterling, was. But doesn't look good, that.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's a bit confusing because, like, sometimes I read these tweets and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to see, actually philosophy's tweet, because we clearly dominated or we clearly got bad. But I actually didn't think they had like more XG than us. I thought it was probably about even. So it's interesting to see what sort of, chances, like how this sort of works. But
especially because like Sterling's chance existed. So like, yes, we didn't score that one, the one in the first half,
Yeah.
those pass.
Yeah.
How like, surely that on its own should be like a 0.8 or something in XG. So how can we in total have 0.9? I don't really understand. Do you know what I mean? It's,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, good though. But yeah, I mean, someone in the chat said, "Can we speak about Thiago Silva? He's getting away with murder." We will talk about him. And I'll highlight this so I can maybe touch on it later when we get to those individual player ratings. I do want to bring up the lineup, but before we actually talk about the lineup, I quickly want to talk about something that, because how pointless these games are at this point, what arguably frustrates me even more than the result today. And maybe even the performance, although maybe it frustrates me more, the performance than this. But N'Golo Kante is injured again. He picked up a groin injury in training yesterday. We'll probably miss the rest of the season, which doesn't mean much because there's only 2 weeks left. But still, now it's not the hammy, so that's a positive. But my days, it's a serious issue. It's a serious issue because this is he comes back, then he plays arguably way too much. Gets injured again. How many games did he play since he's come back? 5, 6, something like that. And he's back injured. And that's why, and not because I thought Jorginho is better than Kante, but because Jorginho is more reliable than Kante. That's why I was in January, in December, in November. I was always sat there saying, if we have to let one go, I think it should be Kante and not Jorginho. Because what's the point? We're paying the guy £290,000 a week to be injured for 2-3 seasons straight. It's just difficult. It's just really, really frustrating. And I don't want to go too harsh on Kante on him because I assume he takes care of himself as well as he can, but it's just not really working. And if he's constantly injured, I know this is not about the game today, but partly it is, I guess. Pies, I'll actually start with you. I'll take it to Adash after. Does this having another injury before we even got to the end of the season, like not next season, if he gets injured for like a couple of weeks in September, October next season, it happens, as much as every player can get injured and we already know that he's very prone to it. So, but that he's only here for like 5, 6 games or whatever it was. And now he's back to being injured already. It's just like, can we really trust in it? Like, is it even worth having him as a midfield option then? Because, but then again, if Kovac wants to leave, we kind of need to keep Kante, but even if he's injured most of the time, because otherwise we don't have enough midfielders again, and we don't have the funds at the moment. Well, we have the money, but through financial restrictions, we can't just buy another 2 super expensive midfielders now. So what are we doing, man?
Yeah, we're probably going to need to buy 2 midfielders. I thought we needed 2 midfielders before, these Kovacic and Kante contract rumours came out, but Kovacic probably leaving, obviously. But yeah, I mean, again, I guess it depends on the formation we play in. We've only got 1 game a season, but Kante can't be trusted on. Like, he can't be trusted. Like, he's only just come back, and I know this is not a hamstring injury, but it's a groin injury. Once he sorts out the groin injury in a few months' time, because it will probably get progressively worse. He'll have a knee injury, or he'll have a back injury or something. Like, it's constant. He's made of glass nowadays. He's
the only hope we have now is that obviously he won't play anymore this season, so he will not. There is not going to be any rushing back of him. So I guess he should be fully healed and stuff by the time he comes back.
I mean, it's just,
at this point, who knows whether that's going to help, right? Like, we seem to give him all the time in the world until he came back against Liverpool.
Yeah, it's just tiring at this point. It has been for a while. I love Kante, but I've said Bowley should do some. I don't even know if you do this in baseball, but someone said they should do like a pay-by-play contract or something like that. That's the only option, because we can't. Like, I don't even care if he takes a wage cut. What if he takes a wage cut? It's probably like minimum still going to be 250,000, right? He's on 290,000 now. It's probably not even that big of a wage cut. So we can't have someone that is regularly unavailable just draining our wage bill. I love Kante, but again, I think even when he's come back, I think you could question his performances. I know he's got the assist at Bournemouth, but I don't think he's looked very. I mean, the Liverpool game he was fantastic, but I don't know, man. He's not the same player anymore, and he has he can still have the one-off world-class game, but I just don't know whether it's worth keeping him. But although I will say though is that if I had the choice to keep him or let him go to like Arsenal or something, because there is rumours he wants to stay in London, I would absolutely keep him. I don't want to see Kante in an Arsenal shirt or something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I would fully be on board with if it's a contract that kind of pays in terms of if you're fit a lot and you play a lot, you get paid a lot, which is totally fair, because when he does play, he's great, and we all know that. Not maybe always, especially now after such a long injury until this one, but he's still an unbelievable player. Maybe we should start letting him sit deeper a little bit. I know 4 years ago we had the discussion, he isn't that real DM, but now he's getting older and constantly getting injured. Playing a bit deeper, running a bit less might help him. At the same time, he doesn't even survive training without getting injured, so it doesn't really matter what position on the pitch you put him in. But if he would have agreed to that, I feel like we already would have had that announcement of him signing a contract extension, because the rumor of that kind of games-based incentivized contract that came up like a month ago, more than that, and he hasn't signed anything yet. So that tells me, and I could be wrong, of course, that tells me like he doesn't want that, and if he doesn't want that, then it's an issue to me. It seriously is. Adash, your thoughts? N'Golo Kante injured again. I mean, are you coming to a point where you're like, is it actually a good idea to keep him? But at the same time, Jorginho has already left. Kovacic might well leave. We can't also let Kante go, even if he's always injured. But it's just, that's an issue, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just so sick and tired of it. Like he's just always like he can never put together these days like even a small run of form or even a small run of games, let alone form. It's just always some kind of setback. Even Lampard, I think the way the quotes came out, it seemed like even he was kind of like annoyed and pissed with like the way that Kante's fitness has been. He was like he said something like I forgot exactly what he said, but it was something like basically being annoyed at Kante. But I think I agree with you. I don't think we can let him go. I know Kova might probably going to leave. Gallagher might leave. Ruben also might leave. And
hopefully
we also have...
That's maybe just me. Although today there seems to be a few people in the chat who actually agree with me for once. Come on, to Ruben, love it.
Yeah, I mean, not to say that he isn't good. I thought he was pretty good today, but I just think he's another one whose contract is coming up, and then like with the Bullies' new philosophy that he's not going to let people's contracts run down, he might just like sell them to get rid of the wages. And then Zakaria, obviously he hasn't played, but he played at the beginning of the season. He's also going back his loan is expiring. So we cannot afford to lose Kante. And I agree with Pice. Even if we keep Kante, we need 2 midfielders at least to shore up our positions. We lost.
I mean, obviously, it depends on how many of them go out, I guess, in terms of how many we need. But I do agree.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, yeah. But are we realistically going to get to? I just don't see it happening. I don't think we're going to get Rice, even if we were able and willing to pay what West Ham seem to be asking, even though I think they're probably overquoting it a little bit. In the end, it will be less than the 120 million pounds they're talking about now. But oh my God, it's just frustrating. All right, let's get into this actual game and talk about the lineup. You've seen it on screen for a hot minute, but here we go. Biggest surprise, I'm going to call it, other than Kante being injured, was most certainly Mendy being back in goal. Without yet talking about how he actually played and how that went, were you surprised by that, Adash, or did you kind of see that coming, or like, what do you reckon in terms of that?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely surprised. I didn't know. I mean, there was a lot of kind of speculation about like, oh, he's been on the bench for the last several games, but then like some people said, oh, he's not fit, and then he's not playing, or people are just saying, okay, now he's just permanently been dropped. And it kind of seemed to come out of the blue. Obviously, it makes sense now that, in hindsight, it makes a little bit more sense now that we're mathematically safe. So maybe now he's willing to kind of rotate in those positions where he didn't want to before. But even then, rotating at goalkeeper, but then choosing not to play some of the other players in other positions, like who are on the bench, I think that was interesting decisions from Frank. But I think, yeah, it definitely surprised me, and I don't know if it paid off today.
No, I don't know if it paid off either. And I'm really intrigued whether maybe today's performance changed it again, but whether initially Frank was like, okay, Kepa's played obviously loads and loads this season. Now that we are safe, Mendy will get the last few games of the season. I'm really wondering whether that was the plan, maybe still is the plan. Who knows, Pice? I'm sure you were also surprised that Mendy started. I know you're not necessarily maybe as pro Kepa compared to Mendy as maybe I am, but Kepa started all the games under Frank so far. So it was most certainly a surprise that Mendy started all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise. I mean, it was either going to go one or two ways, and unfortunately, it went the negative way. But yeah, I mean, it was a surprise. I thought Kepa would see out the season, but yeah, unfortunately, it went the negative way. And yeah, I mean, we'll discuss a little bit about it, but I don't know. I just don't know how he's fallen off a cliff so quickly. I don't really understand personally. I think it's a mystery. Yeah, it really is.
I think it just has to be that his unbelievable form for us was a purple patch and not the reality. It has to be.
Well, it's a very long purple patch.
It's true. It's true. You're right.
I personally,
how great our defense was, and that obviously builds confidence.
I personally think he just what was I trying to say? Like, he did everything too quickly, almost. Like, I know we didn't win the Premier League, but he had all those heights. Like, he was best goal in the world, he won AFCON, he won the Champions League, he won other awards, and then it was just like, from there, it just went downhill. And obviously he's been injured a lot of this season, so it's been difficult for him, but yeah, I don't know. I guess he's going to leave. I mean, I just, never forget the Champions League run where he made so many good saves. I mean, I remember that Real Madrid game at home with the Benzema header and the curler, and like, so good, but yeah, even games like Brentford away, I mean, memorable games like that,
To be fair, those are the two main ones that you just mentioned now.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, others, but those are the two that stick out in my mind, just how good he was. Liverpool at home, I think. Man United away as well when he first joined.
Wasn't that his first game?
No, Spurs was his first game. But Mendy was just, I don't know, he was so much more confident. You felt so much more authority. Like that, obviously the first goal, people can blame the centre-backs, but there's no way old Mendy doesn't come out and claim that. Like, if you guys think back to when he first joined us, he was like, everyone was gassing him because he was so good at claiming corners, claiming crosses. And he's just not like that anymore. I don't know why. It's a mystery.
Yeah, it is weird. I didn't mean to say that what we see now is the reality of Mendy. I don't think that either. He's clearly lack of confidence, lack of game time, just, lack of form, just as simply. But I also don't think that as yes, it was a long purple patch, but still, I still don't think all of what he's done before was also his real quite his real ability. He just seemed, what he does seem most certainly is that, some players move clubs and then they kind of take a while to get going. But Mendy was almost the opposite, where you're like, he seemed like, okay, I got my chance at a big club now. And then he proper performed and then he won not just the Champions League with us, he obviously won AFCON with Senegal. And ever since then, that's when it so drastically seemed to have declined. But it's a tough one. Otherwise, in terms of the lineup, obviously, we probably expected Kante to play before we realized that he was injured. Once you knew that Kante was injured, the kind of only debatable two, I guess, were Sterling and not Mudryk, and Felix and not Havertz. Thoughts when on the lineup?
Just in general,
yeah.
Well, I mean, I wanted Mudryk over Sterling, and I said I'd eat my words for today because Sterling played like he should be doing week in, week out. That second goal especially was, what we signed him for, that quality. It reminded me of the Zagreb goal where he cut in and put it in the corner. He should be doing that most weeks, not every week, but he should be doing that most weeks, scoring goals. That's what we signed him for, and taking people on, looking more confident. So that was the main one I was annoyed with. I mean, I looked at Gallagher and I thought, it's whatever. He scored last week. I think Chukwuemeka should be playing. I think Ruben Loftus-Cheek should be playing.
Chukwuemeka isn't here anymore. He's with the under.
I know that's the whole point. I know that's the whole point why I'm so disappointed, because they give Hall a chance, but then you send Chukwuemeka out onto the World Cup. I mean, it's whatever at this point. I think Ruben should be playing over Gallagher personally. Gallagher's touches were just like, my God, really pissing me off today. So bad, but other than that, no, not really any complaints. Felix, Havertz up top is what it is. Aubameyang wasn't going to play after the Arsenal game. I think he's pretty much done now.
After, what was it on some TikTok live where he said that he wants to go to Barcelona? Like, if you say that on your contract, that you're not going to play anymore.
It is what it is at this point. Just mainly surprised at Mendy, to be honest. And to be fair, I did think Aspie would play over Chalobah. That was another surprise, but
it's true, actually.
Yeah, Chalobah played all right.
Maybe Frank did that in mind in case he needs to take Hall off or something. Now, in the end, he didn't take Hall off. But now I always think that Havertz would just be better than Felix up front. Now, did you really see that in the second half once he came on? No, I'll be honest. But I still think we played so many long balls, and I'm like, how am I supposed? Like, I'm not even going to be mad at Felix for not winning it, because how can I expect Felix to win these headers against the Forest centre backs? There's no chance. But Havertz would win some, and therefore would make it easier for us to keep the ball, therefore make it easier for us to sustain pressure on the opponent. And that's the problem that we have for the most part. Like, once you sustain pressure for a longer period, that's how you score goals. If you only ever like one attack every 6, 7, 10 minutes or even more than that, then it's always much more difficult. So, keeping the ball higher up the pitch, that's a big part of that. And that's what Havertz plays with. Mudryk over Sterling, I agree with you. I would have preferred Mudryk to start. Obviously, Sterling in the end performed and scored 2 goals, so brilliant. But I also understood in a way, because Sterling came on last week, did really well, got a great assist. While Mudryk, I know you slightly disagree with that. I'm not saying he was bad last week, but he didn't stand out like Madueke did, both against Arsenal and against Bournemouth. So I'm like, well, if then the player that replaced Mudryk comes on and does well, gets an assist in that, well, then I understand why you would play Sterling. Now, it's a different situation when we get to the subs and the fact that he brought Ziyech on, but Sterling scored 2 goals off the left, so that's probably why he didn't want to move Sterling over to the right or take him off. So I get it a little bit, but it's obviously still frustrating that you had Pulisic unused on the bench, in particular, of course, Mudryk unused on the bench. I mean, I can't remember how many minutes Pulisic just got on Frank, but it certainly has been a lot, and I feel like Ziyech has got more, and that's bloody that's an issue. Ruben instead of Gallagher. The way Frank wants to play, I feel like we, unfortunately, especially when we don't have Kante, we kind of need Gallagher's legs as much as he has his issues, most definitely. I think Ruben should play instead of Kovacic. I've probably maintained that since 2019, that opinion. But obviously, Kovacic had great periods in between that. Adash, though, just quickly, other than obviously the Mendy one, anything majorly surprising to you? The fact that Sterling played over Mudryk, for example. Obviously, Felix up top. What did you make of those?
Yeah, I thought Sterling would play today after last game, but I wasn't overly too unhappy with the lineup, especially, once it came out that Kante was injured. I didn't think there would be too much wrong with the lineup. And I think the problem with how we play now is more systematic than having those individual players. But again, I understand why people kind of get frustrated because you just want to kind of see the players who are going to contribute next season and the players who are the future of the club, and that's not necessarily always reflected in Frank's lineups. But yeah.
No, it isn't always reflected, which is the frustrating part because, I mean, Frank told us, a week ago that it's his job to play these players more now. And he played Hall purely because he had to. If Chilwell was fit, there's no chance Lewis Hall would have played. So really, the only youngster that will remain at Chelsea that played is Madueke, and maybe small chance of Chalobah. Although, following on from what we were talking about yesterday, I know Pice wasn't here for that, but we were talking about yesterday in terms of the Thiago Silva rumors of potentially going back to Brazil. ESPN Brazil said that that's very unlikely, and he's most likely going to, see out his contract. So good news in my opinion. Also, the banners before the game, great. Even though I don't think it looked good for the first goal that we conceded, but we will get to that in a minute. Shall we just get it out of the way? Ladies and gentlemen, please do subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that like button. We need way more likes. It helps me spread these streams and videos out to more people. So that'd be massively appreciated. But yeah, let's just start it off with Mendy. I'm not going to be too harsh, as much as I maybe initially on Twitter, my reaction was like, no one ever dare tell me Mendy's better than Kepa again. And when I said that, I didn't mean full stop general and like comparing their primes. Obviously, Mendy's prime that we've seen has clearly been better than Kepa. But people were, whenever Kepa was even remotely, maybe the tiniest bit to blame for a goal, they were like, play Mendy, would never concede these. And I'm like, really? Really? Did you see what happened today? And the most annoying thing was the people actually still back down on it. It was like some people were defending Mendy. Were like, oh no, Kepa wouldn't. Bro, have you ever seen Kepa concede a goal when the ball was straight at him? I've never seen that in my whole life, I don't think. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I like the fact that Mendy conceded that second goal. I'm not saying Kepa necessarily saved the first one, because he might not come for it, and then he's just an easy catch off the header. But then you don't know where the guy's going to header the ball if the goalie doesn't come for it. So that's not guaranteed. But the second one, to me, there's no chance on earth Kepa concedes that. If Kepa has a hand on it, that close to him, not when stretching, there's no way he concedes it, in my opinion. Now, maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I have an agenda. I don't know. But that's my opinion regardless. And there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, Mendy, obviously, he hasn't played in a very long time. And he was obviously dealing with a bit of an injury for a long while as well. Like, obviously, he had finger surgery. And then he was on a bench for a while. But Frank still told us he isn't fully fit still. So, yeah. I do feel a bit bad. But he had a howler for both goals. Let's be honest now. And for that, I'm going to give him a 2. I don't want to just give him a 0, because that's just, it's a bit too easy, I think. I know we do that a lot for sometimes for players, and a lot of you guys maybe more than I did for and by you guys I don't mean specifically Pice and Adash, but the panels on my channel. For Kepa maybe, but yeah, because he's been out for long and just got the first game back, I will give him a 2, but it's still a stinker. Like, it's still a stinker. And no, kills moles. No. Kepa does not concede goals where they're at him. Like, it was so at him that Mendy didn't even stretch his arm out properly, and it still hit him. Kepa doesn't concede those goals. He concedes a lot of goals, and he doesn't stop long shots, and he concedes all the worldies in the world, but not that one. But yeah, I mean, Adash, I'll go with you. You're going to go along with me being a little bit nice and give him Mendy a 2, or you're going to go lower? Do you actually disagree? And I'm not actually being nice, and you would go higher. What would you give Mendy?
I would give him probably a 3. I think just a little bit more leeway in terms of, I think it's also a case of, I think I would actually kind of disagree in terms of, I think the first goal is much more his fault than the second goal necessarily.
Oh no, I agree with that. Sorry, let me just clarify what I'm trying to say then. I agree that that's more of a mistake because he came out and missed the ball. But why I'm saying I'm not sure that necessarily Kepa doesn't concede the goal is because Kepa wouldn't have come for it in the first place. And then you can't guarantee whether he saves the header after that, if that makes sense. You know what I'm trying to say? Even though the first one is still a bigger mistake, I'm still more sure that Kepa saves the second one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the first goal was just kind of very poor form and very poor display of goalkeeping ability. I mean, he just came and ran behind the attacker. Like, if you're running behind,
he tried to catch the ball behind the head of the attacker. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, that was an absolute shocker. I think I mean, also, like, to be fair, perhaps a little bit rusty and at this point, I mean, I'm kind of numb to us conceding. I was kind of expecting it. I was surprised we lasted that long with the clean sheet, but I mean, yeah, just a 3. He's probably leaving. I mean, I honestly don't know where he would even leave to necessarily. I don't know what kind of club might actually be willing to pay his kind of wages at a top
Well, to
level.
be fair,
that he
Mendy's wages
wants.
aren't actually that high, which is half the problem because he wanted a much bigger pay rise with us, which is why he hasn't signed a new contract. So he might get that somewhere. It's a good question, though. Where will he go? I don't really know.
Yeah,
I mean,
a lot of teams
if
are
we
moving.
sign Onana from Inter, maybe Inter.
I could see maybe also like a team like maybe like Brentford if they sell Raya, perhaps. But a lot of teams
I
are
think I've
moving
seen going
towards.
to a bigger club abroad. I don't know. I could be
Yeah, a
wrong.
lot of teams are moving towards like have playing out from the back more, which Mendy doesn't necessarily suit too much. So I don't know where we would get him and if there's a market to actually get a good price for him. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I think just give him a 3. I mean, wasn't his day. I doubt he's gonna start now for the rest of the season. I would be fairly surprised if he started next game against City.
Fair enough. So a 3 from your end, a 2 from me. Price, what will you give Mendy today? Or are you just going to be simple and give him a 0?
Maybe a 1 out of just because he hasn't played in a while. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that at 1 because he didn't make any saves for me to give him higher, and I think on both goals.
Did he even make a single save? Genuinely, I can't remember him making a save.
Both goals, he should have done better. To be fair, and I also think I know some people might call me harsh, but that Renan Lodi volley where it went just wide from the corner, I think if that went in, like because Mendy stood still, and it would have been a good goal, but I guarantee you people would have been like, Kepa just stood still. So like I just think we have to try and show the same energy to these guys. I don't think either of them are good enough personally to be our number 1, but yeah, it will be interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, sorry, but this chat's feeble fetish for Mendy is honestly a bit weird. I've seen people say he should get a 5. He didn't make a save and conceded 2 goals where he was at fault for both. And
the first goal is horrendous. If Kepa does
it, people, like, I'm sorry, I know you like him, but you need to be objective. Like, come on now, that's ridiculous.
If Kepa does that first goal, bro.
Mate,
honestly,
people get saluted. He has to turn off his comments on his Instagram again if he does that.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean, that's not even goalkeeping ability. It's just common sense. Like, what's the point? There's a defender behind Awoniyi. Why would you jump behind him? You know that the defender is going to head it away if Awoniyi misses it. So there's no point to you just giving him an open goal. I don't understand what went through his mind to like actually make that decision.
Yeah, there you go. True. Musa called him the Senegalese Karius, which I might find a bit harsh again, but it's maybe not the entire chat. This, I'm not really sure what to make of this. Do I want to feel complimented or insulted? I most certainly think it's wrong because I don't think I'm particularly controversial personally, but hey, each to their own, I suppose. Each to their own. Let's move up the pitch and let's get to these centre backs. We had the comment earlier and I said I would bring it up, so I will. Eamon Edit is talking about, can we speak about Thiago Silva, by the way? He's getting away with murder. Now, I do think he should have done better for the first goal. I think because Badiashile is behind the attacker and the attacker is obviously built strong and stuff, yes, Badiashile can do better, but Badiashile has a defender, has the attacker in his way. Thiago Silva doesn't. Thiago Silva just misjudged the cross and therefore was too far forward to actually hit it, which isn't good for him. I do still think that saying he gets away with murder is a bit harsh. Personally, I think it's a bit harsh. Luton are 1-0 up against Sunderland. Is that the final already, or is that the semi-final of the playoff? Does anyone know? Nah, surely we don't have the playoff final today already, do we?
It's semi-finals, I think.
Yeah, there you go. It would be mental if Luton get to the Prem, by the way. Like, obviously, we played them in a cup last season, didn't we? Like, their stadium would be allowed to even be in the Premier League is insane. Silva was pointing to Badiashile to cover the run, but it was a cross. So, I don't know. Maybe you're making a fair point, Austie, but Pice, how do you see it? Do you think Eamon has a point, or do you think he's a bit harsh? But also, how would you rate Silva today then?
I don't know. Like I've watched the crossback loads. Like I've watched the goal back loads, and I just think like if Mendy stays in his goal, like I think Awoniyi probably heads it right, but I probably don't think he scores. And I think then you're probably saying like, Silva and Badiashile, like, what are you doing? But I don't think it would have cost us a goal. The fact that Mendy come out obviously was the thing that I didn't like.
But it's obviously still the defender's job to try and stop the attacker from getting it.
It is. But like, I don't know. What I'm trying to say is I think people are putting more on it just because, that he scored the goal. And by the way, I've just seen a shit ton of slander for Thiago Silva online. Like, I don't quite get it. I don't know whether some people are taking it personally, these reports of, him wanting to leave, or, like, I don't know, man. There's some edgy people online. There really is. And I'm seeing more of them lately. But in terms of today, I would for that involvement, I would probably go like a 5, maybe. Because for the rest of the game, I don't think he was, I don't think he was bad, to be honest. I don't think he did anything wrong. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You said 5. Before I get to Ardash, let me react to a couple more comments here. I have my viewpoints and I don't change my stand. I'm not quite sure if that's true, considering the amount of time I've changed ratings after other people have said other things, but sure. Isaac says, by the way, Isaac, I tried to actually message you on Twitter to come on stream because you messaged me a few weeks ago, and I'm not sure if you got banned or if you just deleted your Twitter account or whatever, but I can't message you anymore. So if you have a new account, message me with that, please. But anyway, he says it's Cover's fault anyway. We are not talking about Cover, but yeah, Cover most certainly, even more than Mendy, had the easiest bit to stop that goal. He just didn't have to get dispossessed too easy. He just tried to run. It looked like he didn't see that the guy was next to him trying to tackle him. So that was a bit strange. But yeah, there you go. From my end, I would probably just give Silva a 4, Pies, because I would also say pretty much every single set piece we looked extremely dodgy from. And he's the leader of the defense. He's the main guy that's organizing the defense. So sure, we have a set piece coach who I don't know who that is anymore since Anthony Murray left, fair enough. But he's the captain. He's the main defender. He's the leader at the back. When you're poor for every set piece, I think if you have to kind of credit fault to anyone for that, it's you. I would usually say that it has to be the main guy that's supposed to organize the defense. If it's not like an individual error, if that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, like I say, Forest had the higher XG than we did. I don't think any of these defenders deserve even a 5. So personally, other than Chalobah, in terms of the centre backs, I'm probably going to give Badiashile like a 4.5, maybe at a push of 5. But I think, yeah, Thiago Silva, just because I felt like he was a bit more at fault for the goal. I guess I could be wrong with what Austie said in terms of that he was pointing to Badiashile, but just pointing doesn't mean that he shouldn't have been in a different spot first before pointing someone else to move elsewhere, right? So, yeah, but I might have to watch it back and that might change my mind. Adash, I've said 4. Pi said 5. What would you give Thiago Silva today?
I think it's pretty tough. I don't think there's necessarily too much you can pinpoint in terms of like singular blame. I think even like the headers, like it is also difficult to get up in the air when you have like an attacker kind of like pushing you down, and also like his jump was pretty big, the attacker. So, but I think overall it wasn't a good game from him. Didn't have a lot to do in terms of distribution as well. I would probably give him a 4.5. I think when we get to Badiashile, I think Thiago Silva was the better of the two defenders by a stretch.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting when we get to it. I do want to quickly highlight this comment here because I saw it. And now I don't want to big myself up too much, but I've actually said this for a long time, that's actually a bit of a downside to Thiago Silva, as fantastic as he is. I did always feel that he drastically slows us down in build-up, and there was times last season before, obviously, Christensen and stuff left, where I thought we're better when Christensen plays instead of Thiago Silva, purely because we play so much faster out from the back. Therefore, we beat presses much easier. Therefore, we create more chances, which I know sounds stupid to say this, the most deepest centre-back has anything to do with how many chances you create. So, obviously, it's a bit of a stretch, but I still do agree with Santiago that he slows us down during build-up. Pies, you're a big fan of Thiago. Do you agree with that? Even to a little bit, that he does that a little bit too slow and it would be better if he played it out a bit quicker? Or do you just disagree with this?
I don't disagree, but it's definitely hard this season as well because, like, have we really had a functioning way of playing, like, even on the Graham Potter? Like, it was not really great. Also think lacking Jorginho, is quite bad because Jorginho is the one that offers the ball. There's been loads of games where I've been to where Silva has the ball and it's just like, right, well, who do I pass it to then? Especially the early games when Enzo joined. Not so much now because he's kind of got more used to the role, but especially those early games, it was, I don't know, just not really many options, to be fair. In midfield, I do think we need some, and that's why I think the 6 is so important because, yeah, they need to be able to defend and win duels and be athletic, but they also need to be able to do that, dropping deep and showing for the ball and, getting the ball, playing it, like how Jorginho done. So I do see that side to it as well.
Yeah, that's also true.
I know, to be fair, I'm a big fan of Levi Colwill, but he's quite similar, to be fair, in terms of gets the ball, maybe dwindles on it a little bit too much. So, I don't think it's a trait that is just,
But Colwill is barely 20. Well, Thiago Silva, he's not going to improve anymore at this point. Colwill might improve on it.
No, but I'm just saying people might say the same next season when Colwill comes in because obviously he's got a lot of high expectation and stuff. So, but yeah, I don't disagree with it. I think it's another one online. I see it on Twitter a lot, just being a little bit too edgy for my liking. It's like that thing where it's like I love how Thiago Silva's probably the most universally overall rated player in the Chelsea fan base, and then there's always
the Chelsea fan base. He's probably the player that rival fans rate the most of them.
Yeah, and then there's always that group, that section online or on streams or wherever it be, which I'm not saying it's in here today, but there is in the past been this group where they just okay, everyone likes Thiago Silva, so let's pick out a little thing of his game where I don't like and make a big deal out of it. Same with Reece James. There's been a few like that with Reece James. I just think it's a bit edgy, to be honest. But that particular comment, I don't I don't fully disagree.
Yeah, there you go. And I do also hear what you're saying, obviously, in terms of the players in front of it need to move and everything. That's why I was last year, I noticed it more when Christensen did play, and it looked to me like it was just quicker because I'm like, well, I doubt they're going to move more just because Christensen's playing. So then I have to think, well, can we just say it's all the others' fault if it works better with someone else, right? So that's when I started having that opinion a little bit. Obviously, this season, Christensen wasn't here anymore, so there wasn't someone really better at this than Thiago Silva, so this wasn't really something to bring up much, especially because
Jorginho was basically another
was our best defender anyway. But yeah, sorry, Pice, you were trying to say? Go on.
No, Jorginho is if you think about it, he was like an extra centre-back for us. He literally, at times...
But only when we played a 4, though. I don't think when we played a 3.
I just think he was such a unique player. How Thiago Silva always used to just play a little short pass to him, whereas now it's sometimes we get the ball and Thiago Silva ends up hitting it out wide or hitting it out wide or hitting it long just because we don't have that Jorginho in the squad. So yeah, that is an issue as well.
That was obviously one not negative, but that's why I know a lot of people always said that we're helping Jorginho and Silva with playing the back 3, but I always thought maybe defensively we are a little bit in terms of Silva's a slight lack of pace. Of course, Jorginho's drastic lack of pace, but also cover behind him. But I still always felt like having these two players so close to each other kind of took ability away from both of them, because I thought Jorginho being that close to Silva makes it a little bit pointless. It would be much more useful if we had a back 2, they split apart and then Jorginho can drop and then do that job. But because Thiago Silva was already there in the middle of a back 3, he couldn't really do that. So therefore, yeah. But anyway, let's not talk about, there's no point talking about Jorginho's and back 3s when we're playing back 4s and Jorginho's been sold. So let's get to Badiashile. Adash, I'll start with you. You said you thought Thiago Silva was better than the better of the two by a stretch. What makes you think that, and what would you rate Badiashile?
Yeah, I think for the goals themselves, I think Thiago Silva was more to blame for those individual moments. But I think overall in the game, Awoniyi was much more to our left, so he was much further on Badiashile's side, and there were a lot of times when he either got muscled. There were some times where we got pretty soft fouls given for us, where if we hadn't, that Badiashile would have kind of been in the mud. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. Maybe by a stretch was a little bit of an exaggeration, but I think he was targeted much more, and he didn't.
Does that make him worse just because they tried more with him?
But he also didn't necessarily respond to that with the best kind of defending, and there was a lot of times where he was kind of beaten by by their players. So I think I would give him maybe like a 3.5 since we gave Thiago Silva 4.5. I'll go one less and give him a 3.5.
All right, I hear you. I mean, I've just looked through the stats. To be honest, their stats are very similar for Badiashile in terms of pass completion, duels won. Badiashile a tad better, but obviously it's so tight that it's not really worth mentioning, to be honest. I probably would have either given them the same or maybe Badiashile a tad higher, but then I did also remember that wasn't Badiashile kind of also involved in the second goal? Obviously, Lewis Hall kind of first and foremost lost this man for the second goal. But I don't think Lewis Hall was supposed to be marking, and I'm gonna. How do I pronounce his name? I heard the commentator say it. Awoniyi. I don't really know. I'll be honest. Sorry. But he's their main guy, right? So surely we wouldn't have put Lewis Hall on him. So I feel like Badiashile must have had some involvement in that. I might have to see him back or whatever. But yeah, therefore I'm just going to give them both a 4 because if he had a bit of involvement in that, then to me, that's not much in it, like I say. And also, Badiashile was obviously, as much as I think Thiago Silva was more to blame for the first goal, I still think Badiashile could have also won that header. So, yeah, therefore, I'm going to say 4. But, Pice, a 3.5 and a 4 for Badiashile. What did you make of him and what would you rate him?
Probably like the opposite of what we was discussing about Silva in terms of like I thought he was very good in terms of how quickly he passed the ball. And he was constantly circulating it, and definitely towards the end of the game he was almost playing left back, just out wide, just getting the ball quick, passing it into Enzo, and that helped us with our sort of our I guess intensity to try and score the winner. But I do agree in terms of like I don't know how many duels he won, but I just felt like he was bullied a little bit. That striker is
round duels. He won 2 out of 4 aerials. He won 4 out of 5. Sorry, while Thiago Silva won also 2 out of 4 ground duels and 4 out of 6 in the air. So, like I say, very similar basically.
Yeah, not too bad. Then I thought he got a bit lucky to get a foul when Awoniyi that one early in the game when it was down the side and he got a foul like pushed him a little bit, but I thought maybe he got a little bit lucky there. But. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the stats don't really say so. I just thought he got bullied a little bit. Wasn't as dominant as I thought. Not going to be too harsh on the rating. I'm probably going to go. Probably go 4.5. I think. Yeah, 4.5.
I guess that gives him a 4 overall. You know what I've just seen, and I'm slightly doubting whether this information is correct because that would be baffling. Apparently, Awoniyi is, in quotation marks, only 5'11". The fact that he beat both Badiashile, who's massive, and Thiago Silva for that header, and Mendy is absolutely outrageous if he's 5'11". And that actually makes me be a bit more annoyed at Badiashile for that one because I'm like, if he's only 5'11", how tall is Badiashile? Like 6'3"? 6'4". How can you be 6'4" and lose a header against someone that's 5'11" when he's right in front of you? Like, surely you should find a way to win that header. So yeah, I'm slightly doubting myself, but here we are. Overall, we sit at a 4, regardless. Let's get to Chalobah. Obviously, the more defensive of the 2 fullbacks. I thought he did good. I genuinely thought he was one of our better players on the day, and maybe even our best player. I guess obviously Sterling scored the 2 goals, so he won't get the highest rating. But I genuinely don't think Chalobah did much wrong. He got the assist for the first goal, very good. He had another couple of crosses which also went well, where his involvement with Madueke high up the pitch, very good. Tackle success, duel success, brilliant. Ground duels 6 out of 6, aerial duels 1 out of 1, tackles 2 out of 2. Accurate long balls is maybe not so great, but successful dribbles 3 out of 3. I thought he helped us progress up the pitch on a few occasions very well. I'm going to give him 7. I don't think we played overall well enough for him to get any higher than that, but I think a 7 is justified for him today. I think he did well. I mean, I success 7.5. He's 6 foot. I warn you, not 5'11". All right. Well, my app says 5'11". That's barely anything in that, RD. So that's not going to be the decisive factor. But Badiashile is 4 or 5 inches taller, still a lot taller. But yeah, I'm gonna say 7. Pice, would you agree with the 7? Would you go higher? Would you go lower? What do you think?
I was going to go 6.5, but I mean, there's not too much into it. I thought he played a really good cross at the end. Went through everyone. No one really attacked it, and Sterling picked it up out wide. I was like, another case of if a striker was in there, you never know. But Yeah, I thought he did well, to be fair, in terms of driving the ball up the pitch. I think he did more of that today, than usual. Defensively, wasn't really tested that much, but yeah, I thought he was good in possession. Thought he had a good game. I'm going to go 6.5, though. I'm not sure it's quite enough for a 7, but I can see where you're coming from.
Even with the assist, though.
Got an assist?
Yeah,
Which
he
one?
assisted his first goal.
Why am I losing my brain here?
It took a deflection on the way, so.
Yeah.
Apparently
yeah.
it doesn't count as an assist officially or whatever, but he definitely cut it back to Sterling.
Yeah.
No one touched it.
Yeah,
and
no,
then Sterling
I
hit the head of the guy and it went in.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, go on then, 7 for that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to
For some reason I thought it was Madueke who cut it back, but obviously wasn't.
Yeah. No, I think it was Madueke had the ball and then Chalobah did the overlap. Madueke kind of.
Did it get deflected though? I swear it got deflected. Or did it not?
The cross or the shot?
Yeah, the cross.
Both were deflected.
So, but I could be wrong. I'm gonna go watch it back. I'm gonna go watch it back while I let you speak on it, Adash. Would you agree with a 7 for Trevor Chalobah, or would you maybe disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I was gonna go with the 7 regardless. I think yeah, he played pretty well for a position that he's not necessarily very comfortable in. You can still see he's not too comfortable as a right back, especially when he goes up and when he's attacking. But I think he grew into the role, especially as the game moved on. I think I really thought he played pretty well today. I'm in my recollection, I'm pretty sure the cross was deflected, but I think even despite that, he played a lot of good crosses. He gave a lot of good options to the right wingers when it was Madueke, and then later when it was Ziyech too. So yeah, overall I would give him a 7. Not too bad. Definitely wasn't the problem or the cause for the goals today.
Fair enough. All right, we'll leave it at a 7 then. Let's take it over to the other side to Lewis Hall. I'm still trying to find the bloody goal because all the ones on Twitter are already geo-blocked for me. And now I'm trying to find highlights where it actually will show me that. I will try to get it as quickly as I can, guys. But I'll let you go first, Adash. Lewis Hall, what did you make of him? It's just a stat for you guys. He created the most chances of any Chelsea player today with 3. But what did you make of the rest of his game? Because the chance creation, a couple of his crosses were certainly good, but there was a few other occasions where I was like, "Oh, you are struggling."
Yeah, there was in particular, I think the one you might be talking about. There was the one cross to Felix. He got the ball on the left flank, and then Felix kind of had a good header, but that was probably like our second best chance that we didn't convert after Sterling's. But I think overall he wasn't bad. He wasn't anything other than what I had expected. He was still able to contribute. There were a lot of times where he tried to pass the ball, but the pass didn't come off. So the ball just kind of moved in front of him without him actually swinging his leg. But I think, I want to see him start. I need to see him start the rest of the season because especially after we blocked him from going to the U20s World Cup. Overall, not too bad. He was just overall he's been playing as we've seen him play when he's had his few cameos this season and last season too. And I think just giving him more time will help him settle in, even if he plays as a left back, which isn't his natural position. I would probably give him, if we're being completely fair, I would give him a 5, but I'll give him a 5.5 because he's not playing in his natural position, I guess, and he also hasn't had much first team experience.
Fair enough. Say that again, sorry, because I was trying to find the highlights. 5.5, did you say?
Yeah, 5.5.
Right then. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I'm struggling to find highlights. So if anyone has the first goal and finds a clip that's not geo-blocked or whatever, either put the link in the chat here or DM me or whatever, so I can take a look at it and we can make a more full conclusion. But yeah, Lewis Hall, the more I watch him, and I know Pice, I'm not sure if that maybe changed today, but I know until now you weren't quite of the same opinion as that. But the more I see him play, the more I see that he's a midfielder, not a left back. Now, left wing back most certainly more. And when we were sat here yesterday, because we have to start Lewis Hall because of the other injuries, we all said let's play a back 3 so he can be wing back, which certainly would have suited him more. But he plays like a midfielder to me, not a defender. You could see every time set pieces, he just need to. I mean, set pieces, to be honest, you have to defend regardless of whether you're the midfielder or defender, to be honest. But that seems to be his major issue. I thought, like, sticking to his man, winning the physical duels in those tight and important situations. That's what he struggled with the most. I don't think he was bad overall. Like I say, he created the most chances of anyone. That little flick that he made before the cross to Felix was gorgeous. But there was most certainly a few situations where I'm like, yeah, I will not go quite as high as you did, Adash. And maybe it's a bit harsh because the kid's only 18. That's why I think people shouldn't be quite as harsh. But I'm debating between a 4.5 and a 5, something around there. I'll leave it up in the air for now, and I'll ask Pice, and we'll see whether that even matters when I say 4.5 or 5. Pice, Adash went 5.5. I'm saying 4.5 or 5 for Lewis Hall. What did you make of him, especially when you hear the stat that he created the most chances of any player, but then you see him on the other side of the pitch defensively was struggling?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. There were the one in the first half, which I don't think you guys have spoken about, was the corner. He completely didn't bother running toward, like, attacking the ball, and Thiago Silva had like a massive go at him. The guy nearly scored the header. But yeah, I mean, he's not played in a while. I think he's a good player. I'll give him a 5. He did that one really good cross. But I think he looked technically secure on the ball as well. He definitely does. He's a good player, but the reason why I like to see him at left back is because I just think there's no chance he makes it in midfield. Like, midfield is just an area you probably buy more than you do at fullback. So I think he's got the best chance of making it here at fullback. But that being said, I think defensively today was a little bit dodgy. So I'll go with a 5.
You said 5?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think then, regardless of whether I say 4.5 or 5, that leaves us at a 5 overall. So 5, it shall be. Adash did send me a recorded clip of the goal. He says that it was definitely deflected. Okay, so that is fair enough. Yeah, no, it was deflected. Although the direction, I'm not sure how much that actually changed. Let me see if there's a good replay of it. There you go. 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to figure out how much credit to give Callum. Yeah, okay. It did take a deflection, but it was still his cross, and in my opinion, should count as an assist. I think it's a bit harsh that doesn't count, apparently, as an official assist, but hey, here we are. In the end, whether Adash says, whether Pice said 6.5 or 7 for Chalobah, because me and Adash went for the 7 regardless. A 7 it shall be. Let's get to Enzo Fernandez, robbed of an assist today by, weirdly, the guy that ended up scoring 2 goals anyway. So that is a bit frustrating. But yeah, don't think he was bad. Don't think he was maybe as amazing as some other people thought. Like I say, I don't really know. I would probably just give him like slightly above average. Like, he did good, got robbed of an assist, but I don't think he was like standout. So I'm like thinking 6.5. Maybe I could push it to a 7. Price. What would you give Enzo?
Enzo, it's difficult. It's between a 6 and a 6.5. Okay. I'll probably go. I don't know. This is really difficult because I'll go 6. I think it was an average game. He did well, in terms of circulating the ball and keeping it moving and stuff. And he should have got that assist really if Sterling would just be more. I just think old Sterling like latches onto that like he did and then just shoots really quickly, but kind of froze. But I don't know. I'll give him a 6. Not much else really to say. I don't think he had massive amounts to do.
Fair enough. A 6 and a 6.5 so far. Although maybe, especially that I said 6.5 or 7, maybe I've gone a bit too high considering how we didn't really have complete control over the game at all times, and obviously he's the DM, so maybe I should be a bit harsher on that from that perspective. But Adash, how do you see it? What would you give Enzo today?
I was gonna give him a 6, like Pice. I think, overall, not too much to kind of comment on his game. Just like a pretty standard game. He had a lot of really good progressive passes, but some of his play was kind of still a little bit loose at times. I think the one thing I will say is, like, we were talking earlier about Thiago Silva and how he slows up our like progressive play when we start off from the back. I think that's also improved a lot since Enzo's come in, because he's really good at playing these kind of like one touch passes out wide where we used to like kind of circulate it through our entire back line to get to the other side. Enzo just plays it to the other side and has that kind of like faster movement with the ball and off the ball as well. So I think that's something he offers in general, but I don't think today was anything special or anything that warrants higher than a 6 necessarily.
Fair enough. No, I think you both make good points, and a 6 it shall be. Let's get to Mateo Kovacic. Of course, got injured and probably played the last game of the season now, and very potentially also the last game for Chelsea, which is a bit sad the way it ended. Obviously, gave the ball away in the build up to the first goal, then got injured before half time. Frustrating. I still like him as a player. He's had a poor season, poorer compared to his ability than others, I think, and it's just I don't really know. It just didn't seem fully up for it all the time. And it's weird because then he still had a game like Leicester away under Potter still when he scored that great goal and was involved in a lot of things and did really well and was clearly into it. So, I don't know, maybe he wasn't quite such a fan of Frank coming back. It felt like he even took another step down once Frank turned up more than maybe others, which is frustrating. But I mean, I guess he should kind of get a star rating because he didn't even play a half, but obviously started the game, so he won't. For the time that he was on the pitch, he gave the ball away. I don't remember him doing anything useful going forward. I'll be honest. I mean, maybe I'm not remembering it, and someone will remind me, but I don't really remember it. The pass completion wasn't amazing with 83%, although 83%, that's 20 of 24, so the percentage sounds harsher and worse than it actually is. Ground duels, 1 out of 3, all right. Didn't attempt to dribble again, which is just, why not? Why did you stop dribbling? I mean, the way he got injured, I'm not sure if you guys saw a replay. I didn't see a replay of any impact or when that might have happened. So that makes me think, was he playing with a knock? And then again, Frank, are you an idiot? Why is he playing if he had a knock? I don't know if he did, of course, though. But because he gave the ball away, I'm going to give him a 3. Is that too harsh, Adash? What do you think?
I was actually going to give him a 2. I was going to be even harsher. I just think...
All right.
I just think I really like Kova. I think he's shown a lot of glimpses, and I think unlike a lot of players over his entire like Chelsea career, if you could just kind of like take a step back, he's shown a lot of improvement, and the parts of his game that were once kind of flaws, he did start to improve. But there's just been such a regression this season, and I think it was probably like best exemplified by this game. I mean, just nothing was coming off for him. He seemed very lethargic, and I don't even think it was like an injury or a knock. I just think it was a product of this season. And then obviously, I think he was extremely at fault for the goal, for the first goal at least, just kind of not knowing when to dribble out, not knowing when to make the pass versus when to kind of just cut your losses, clear the ball, or play a safer option. I think just a 2, but. It's sad because I
you actually convinced me. I think I might actually agree with it too. I know Pite is probably fuming with his mic on mute, but he might agree in the end anyway. Did you want to continue on that? Sorry, Adash, or were you not?
I was just gonna say, like you said, just like a sad way to kind of end the season presumably end of the season for him, and
potentially Chelsea
end his career. I think he's had a lot of good moments for us. He was always the go-to sub in our Champions League win to shore up the midfield, especially if we were ahead. And I think a lot of good memories, but just kind of ending it on a rough kind of string of form. But it is what it is.
The unfortunate part of this is that not only will he probably leave, also if he had like a great end to the season or whatever, would have added another couple of mil to that transfer fee that we might get for him, which is frustrating, especially because he will go to a big club, I'm sure of it. Pice, 2 2s, even though if you speak well and convince me, I might go back up to a 3. But what did you make of Cole and what rating would you give him?
It's a difficult one. He didn't do very well for the first goal. I don't know, I kind of just repeat myself, really. I know Cover very well. I probably notice him, like, players you like, you tend to, like, watch more, I guess, of. Like, you will do it with Ruben, other people do it with their favourite player. And he just doesn't seem himself. He just doesn't seem himself. He's had quite a poor season in terms of form. So, I think that's all really needs to be said on it. In terms of today, I mean, he only played 45 minutes. I don't know if I can go, like, maybe if he had a stinker second half, I'd go that low as well. I'd probably go like a 4 because he only played like 45 minutes. So yeah, he was at
I hear
fault for
that
the
as
first
well,
goal.
mate. I hear that as well.
Yeah, he just didn't play enough for me to give him like a proper stinker rating, but still well below average. I think he's not himself. Had some really sloppy passes. Yeah, and it's just he's not taking people, like he's not dribbling either. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah, it is a tough one. He doesn't even try the dribbles, which is what still keeps making me think: is he fully fit? But there's nothing to play for. So surely, if he wasn't fit, he wouldn't play. So I have to assume he is. But it's a difficult one. According to the calculator, a 2, and a 4 leaves us at, divided by 3, leaves us at 2.6. So 2.5 for Kovacic. Let's do Ruben straight away because obviously he played the rest of the game and came on even before halftime. Got himself an assist. Big up yourself, Ruben. Obviously, Sterling did the most part of this, even though Ruben's run and then pass was nice. Obviously, Sterling did the heavy lifting for sure. But yeah, he did good. He had the highest pass percentage. Of course, most of those were probably safe rather than anything else, but one of them was an assist. I would give him a 6.5. I don't think it was quite enough to say 7 personally, but yeah, I'm gonna say 6.5. I think the assist is enough to give him more than average. Would you agree with that, Pice, or would you go for something different?
In terms of Ruben, yeah, I thought he played quite well, to be honest. I'd have him in the midfield 3 over Gallagher any day, but Lampard likes his passion merchants and run merchants, I guess, and his sprints. So, but Ruben played well. I would go above average, yeah, just slightly maybe. I could see a 6 as well, but I thought he just helped us go forward a lot more. Like I don't know, it was just seemed to be driving us forward a lot more. So, yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go. See, my logic why I said 6.5, not 6, is because even if he doesn't get that assist, I'd probably give him a 6 today. So therefore, like, well, you did get an assist, so I'm adding a 0.5 on top of that, if that makes sense. There you go. Adash, would you agree? Different thoughts? What do you think, Ruben Loftus-Cheek today?
Yeah, very similar thoughts. Give him the same rating as you guys. I think pretty good performance, pretty like positive performance. I mean, I would actually keep him for next season. I think he's like the perfect exemplary example of a squad player and what we kind of need. Like, don't get rid of these kind of players. Get rid of the ones who aren't happy at Chelsea. Play the ones who are happy to be on the bench, who are happy to contribute and happy to play for the club. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I really hope it does though. Yeah, same thoughts as you guys. 6.5.
Fair enough. 6.5. It shall be. And we get to Conor Gallagher. Now, I'm not going to go quite as low as I feel like you probably will, Pice. Because I remember when you put in the group chat, what is that touch, or did you tweet it? I can't remember, but it was certainly straight after Madueke passed to him. And on that specific occasion, I thought, but wasn't the pass a bit bad? Which kind of led to the bad touch, even though the touch could, of course, have been better. But it's Conor Gallagher, so I'm not exactly expecting him to control the ball like bloody Marcelo. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking like 4.5. I think Madueke kind of robbed him a little bit. I think Gallagher had a very good chance of scoring and probably then winning us the game, because that was just after we made it 2-1. We had that moment of Madueke going through, Gallagher being just to his right. And if Madueke lays it off, I think that's a good chance Gallagher scores that. And then it's 3-1, and then I think that's probably the game put to bed. But instead, we don't score that, and a few seconds later, we concede. So that was frustrating, and that's not on Gallagher, of course. And I can't give Gallagher props for a goal he could have scored if his teammate passed him, so I can't do that. But yeah, I'm thinking like 4.5, 5, 4.5. I'm going to say 4.5. I don't think it was enough for a 5, but I don't think it was absolutely shocking in every sense of the word. Like, obviously, stats only mean so much, but the stats aren't bad. The stats aren't bad. Now, his dual success rate wasn't amazing, but I feel like with a player like Gallagher, that's always a bit of a... Because he always chases everything. The guy gets in duels that most players don't get into, so then he might not win the duel, but he still puts the player off, which gives another player then a bigger chance of winning the ball back, which I'm not sure if people agree with that or if I'm being a bit too kind now, but yeah, I'm going to say 4.5. I'll keep eyes to last on this one. Adash, did you think it was worse than my 4.5? Did you give me something different? What do you think? It's very interesting. Someone said 1 for effort. Someone said 4.5 is too low. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Adash?
I'll probably go a little bit lower. I mean, very similar thoughts. I'll probably go for like something around a 4, maybe. Yeah. I think just it's good that he tries, and I think another player that's good if we keep him for like squad rotation, but I don't think it suits him to start from the off. I just don't think he has the technical ability. And also, the one thing I will say is that I expected him to refine his game. He's very passionate and he has a lot of that kind of intensity and drive, but he refuses to tone it down. And so he just gives away a lot of silly fouls and he gives away a lot of needless challenges that he should be getting into when if he just there's a difference between necessarily pressing and then like going into a tackle. Like all he has to do is press and then we have an opportunity to get the ball, but instead he goes in for the challenge and then we lose the opportunity to kind of counter whatever the situation is. That's something I had hoped he would improve on, like even off the ball, which is his main specialty, but he hasn't done that, and I think that's that's disappointing from my point of view. But yeah, 4.
Yeah, fair enough. I do agree, and a couple of people in the chat have said it now as well. He's just not good in possession, and that's the frustrating bit about him because he's kind of an attacking player. He had that one shot from this, and it was an easy save for Keylor Navas, but it was still, I like when a player goes for a shot and he doesn't go into Rose said, at least it hits the target, even if it's a bit too central. Because he can't, obviously he's not as good at tackling and everything as Kante is, not by any stretch, but I do sometimes think if he just didn't, sometimes I think he's overconfident in himself, and sometimes he thinks he's better than he is, because sometimes I feel like when you win the ball, because of his work rate, because of, how much he helps us in that kind of sense, whether it's impressing or winning the ball back or just chasing after players, if when he got the ball, he just made sure he just released it quickly and simply, a bit like I think Kante should do for the most part. And Kante did when he was at his very, very best before kind of Sarri made him into a kind of also a creative player, and then Tuchel and Potter and Frank as well started playing him as flipping number 10s half the time, which was frustrating to me. But I always think that just release the ball quicker and no one's going to have too much of a go at you. But because it's like on the ball, like Pies said, even though I maybe didn't agree necessarily on the specific situation on the touch, I don't even, when I criticize Gallagher's touch, I don't even mean always the touch when he receives the ball. I mean the touches when he's just moving and dribbling. He's just like, it's so over the top. Like he makes way too, when you see a player like obviously it's a drastic comparison now, but when you see a player like Hazard who just moves and just moves so controlled and such small movements, but the ball, never goes far away from them and then still quick on the turn and everything. Gallagher just every touch is like a yard in front of him, and then he runs after it, then he has to stretch for it, and then that touch is a bit heavy, and then the next touch is a bit heavy. Just release the ball quick and you're a decent player. Never going to be an amazing player, but you could be more decent than you are, I think. But yeah, unfortunately, I do disagree on Gallagher just because compared to Ruben, Gallagher will generate a lot more funds. So therefore, if I compare to how useful he is for the team, that does not by any means outweigh the money we will get for him if we sell him. So therefore, in my opinion, he's for me, Gallagher is actually one of the first ones that should be sold because he's one of the ones that will get us the most money. But yeah, Pice, a 4 and a 4.5. Are you going to get even lower than that? And if you are, how low?
I was thinking like a 1 or a 2, to be honest. I thought he was shocking. I think he's terrible. I don't know, man. He just makes my eyes bleed when I watch him. Like you were saying, his touches, I can't deal with him, man. As well, you know what really pisses me off? The amount of stupid little fouls he makes when he has a little missed touch or he's chasing someone and he's like, oh shit, I can't actually get back and defend, so I have to foul him and get a yellow card. That really annoys me when players do that. I'm gonna give him a 2. I really thought he was dreadful today. I'm sorry. I thought he was awful.
It's all good, bro. It's all good. So I'm going to do 4.5 plus 4 plus 2 divided by 3 gives him a 3.5. So that he shall get a 3.5. It is. Let's move higher up that pitch. I'll keep Sterling.
By the way, he won. Can I just say he won? My app says he won 5 out of 14 ground duels, which just says it. Jesus.
Yeah, no, I did see that. It's like I said earlier. Sometimes I think with Gallagher, this is a bit like I say, he just chases into tackles that most wouldn't chase into, but then he stands no chance of winning them. But it's still useful in putting off the player and give someone else a chance to win it back. But maybe that's me clutching at straws and being too kind. I might well admit that. Pies, I'll let you go first. You were at least initially very unhappy with Madueke. Did that remain that way throughout the entire game? It's to me. I'll be perfectly honest now. I don't think he was that different to I was against Bournemouth. maybe a little bit less successful in terms of his dribbles. But at the end of the day, the final ball was equally not there as it was in Bournemouth. But he did keep trying to take players on. So to me, maybe slightly less successfully, but not that different. I think last time he had, 5 out of 7 completed? I think today he has 3 out of 7. I can't remember if that's true that it was 5 out of 7 last game. I can't just check. But what did you make of him today, bro? Like, not as happy as the last few, I assume?
Yeah, no one knew
happy. To be fair,
I think I came away from Bournemouth thinking, okay, he needs to improve his decision making and his shooting, but he looked really threatening today. He was taking a lot of people on. Everything went through him, But today I just felt like a lot went through him, but he was extremely frustrating. And he also had that, for me, he just wasn't threatening today. I think that obviously, you see it in his face as well when he came off, he grew a little bit into the game in the second half, but I just thought, obviously decision making, his touches and that were not great like Bournemouth, but I don't really think he was that threatening today. And I thought, today would be an ideal opportunity for him to just, continue on from the, the previous 2 games where Arsenal and Bournemouth, where he did look like he was quite threatening at times. And today I just didn't really get that vibe from him. I thought he was terrible in the first half. The second half, he grew into it a little bit, but I still don't think he was great. I don't know. The second half, what bumps his rating up a little bit is because in the second half, I don't think he had those moments where he got to the box and then just passed it away and lost the ball and stuff like that. But he had 4 or 5 of those in the first half. So I'll go it's going to be really low. I'm going to go maybe a 3 probably. Yeah, maybe a 3. I just don't think he was good today. I don't think it was his day. I saw, a lot of Madueke fans on Twitter saying, get him off. It's not his day, sort of thing. So I don't think I'm being too harsh here.
No. I will go a little higher than you, but not crazy higher. So not too harsh. But sometimes you couldn't. Not this one. You confused me a little bit. He had 7 attempted dribbles, more than all the others. So how can you say he wasn't taking people on? He might not have been as successful, but he certainly flipping tried. And I mean, there was a moment in the first half he dribbled literally past 4 players in the box. Should have probably released the ball sooner, but he still did it. Stat for you, he won that, which it says at the top here, player fact. Nottm Forest won the most duels in the match. And Nottm Forest had the most duels in the match. Had the most duels is a bit weird because it says 10, and if I scroll down, it says ground duels. He had 18, so I couldn't have had 10. But yeah, that's the thing, because he won 9 in total, 1 aerial, 8 on the ground, but that's 8 out of 18 though. So that's still a good thing about him. I think that he's quite strong for the type of player that he is. I still like that about him. But yeah, for the most part, I probably agree with you. I just think maybe also about myself in hindsight, maybe we overdid it a little bit with the praise at Bournemouth. Obviously, we won, and it was our first win in 2 months and stuff. But I don't think it was that drastically different today than it was in Bournemouth. Like I say, the final ball was never there. The final shot was never there. And that wasn't too different today. Just the dribble success was a bit higher last time. But otherwise, it was very similar to me. So, yeah, I will go a bit higher than you, and I'm going to say 4, leaving us at a 3.5 so far. And I'll ask Adash, what did you make of Madueke today, and what would you rate him, bro?
I was actually going to go considerably higher. I think I would probably go with a 5 just to get my rating out there. And the reason for that is because I just think in this kind of patch of form that we are in, it's not necessarily all down to his performance, but I think just in this patch that we are in, just the ability to kind of have that confidence to take the man on, even if the final ball isn't there, he doesn't back down from it, and he still continues to take the man on. And I mean, somebody said he was predictable. I mean, I don't know how you could call him predictable when we've seen Ziyech. I mean, he has the ability to cut in on his left foot where he's extremely dangerous, but then he also takes it down the line with his right foot, and he has the ability to he played a couple of crosses in that were not bad, but they weren't.
When he does the right foot crosses, plus they do need to be a bit more accurate, but first and foremost, I think they need to be more powerful. That's his issue on the right foot, I think, that I've gathered so far. We've not got to see that much of him, but when he uses his right foot, the power ain't there for me. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree, but I think at least the fact that he does that pretty often, and the ability that he kind of leaves the defender second guessing, I think that's good. And I think just maybe 5's overdoing it a little bit, but I also think it's kind of like a good spark in our attack when nobody else, when people are just kind of, even Sterling, apart from his goals, he would just kind of get the ball if he was pressed, and if he was like, if he didn't have space, he would just turn around instead of taking the man on. That's what we've had consistently with basically all of our wingers since Hazard. And so I think the ability to take a man on consistently and actually try to win, I respect it, and I think that's how I would give him the rating.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Therefore, that should leave us. Let me just see other 4. Of course, let's get to Raheem Sterling on the other side then. Adash, I'll let you go first. The only thing I'll say is I thought until he got the first goal, I thought he was awful. But then the goal, and in particular the second goal, was amazing. And then he certainly did, and he was very good for a while, and then kind of tailed off a little bit again. But yeah, I thought he was really poor at the beginning, actually. Like, obviously, the chance that he didn't take, because what are you doing? Like, you can't get more than that. Like, you can't get a better pass than that. His touch was actually good, but then, like, why? He's that not confident on your left foot? It's just frustrating. But especially the second goal was obviously phenomenal. So, Adash, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure what rating I'll give him. I think I agree completely with your kind of analysis of his play today. I think before the first goal, he didn't look confident at all, and he didn't kind of look like he was going to score, and he didn't look like he was fully into the game. But then after the first goal, he kind of slowly started building up to it, and then for the second, I think the second goal was really good. Maybe it's just that we're starved of goals, but I thought that was really good technique, just to kind of like curl it around, and it wasn't even like a keeper's kind of mistake. It was placed really well. It had good power behind it. I don't know when the last time I've seen a Chelsea player do that. Yeah, but I think apart from that, I think at the end he kind of just tailed off due to fatigue. So I don't know if I would necessarily fully like blame him for it. I don't think it was like a lack of effort. I think it was just kind of tired from all the running he did between the first goal and then the end of the game. I'd probably give him, for those 2 goals, I would give him a 7, probably a purely like a 5.5 or a 6 based on performance. After the second goal, I think he was really good. He was very positive, like I mentioned about Madueke, but then add on a couple extra points for the goals, and I think probably a 7, similar to Chalobah. I think Chalobah had a better overall performance maybe, but Sterling obviously contributed with the goals, so a 7.
Fair enough. Pies, what about you, Sterling? Adash gave him a 7. Do you think that's a bit harsh? Do you agree with it? Whereabouts would you go for Sterling? And do you agree that, well, I know you agree, but tell the other people watching, that he was dreadful basically until he scored?
Yeah. I'm I was kind of hoping he came off at sort of half time, to be honest. But he did get the 2 goals. The second one was definitely nice in particular. Yeah. Rating's difficult, obviously, because you've got to try and take that into account. Obviously, we didn't win, but he helped. And first half, he played bad. So, like, 7's not a bad number, to be fair. I don't think. I mean, I give Chalobah a 6.5, didn't I, or a 6? I can't remember.
I mean, I roped you into giving him a 7, but then we realized that the cross was deflected, so I don't know if that took it back down to a 6.
All right. I'll go 7.5 then.
Yeah, because I probably would have given 7.5 as well, even though I think he was poor before the goal and maybe not always amazing after. The second goal was so good that I'm like, that gets extra points. Do you know what I mean? I mean, successful dribbles 4 out of 8. Doesn't actually look that great, but then the fact that he attempted 8 and stuff, still good. Still, what frustrates me about him is his crossing. Why can't you cross better? Because that's all City do. Not always high crosses, but the pass he had to Felix for the 3rd goal last week. Those kind of passes, I'm like, you need to be able to do those more. But yeah, no, the second goal was absolutely phenomenal. The first one. Good position because everybody else stormed forward, and this is something I want to give him a bit of credit for now, because how many times last season, and I suppose also at times this season, I'm sure when he didn't play, the amount of times that we have crosses and all players either stay and wait for a cutback, or all players storm basically for storm forward for a ball that's kind of whizzed across that they all need to get on the end of. What you need to do is a couple need to push, and a couple need to stay. So no matter where the ball goes, you have a chance of your team getting on the end of it. And Ruben, can't remember, Havertz wouldn't have been on then, would he? So just would Havertz have been on at that point? I can't really remember. Would he? 58th minute? No, he wouldn't have. So then Felix and somebody else, they were storming for like the whiz the cross. But Sterling, stayed off it, and then the ball fell directly to him. He got a bit lucky, I will say, because he basically hit it straight at is his first name David, but the Forest captain Yates. He hit it straight at his head. I think it would have gone in anyway, but there was someone lying on the floor and he hit it low, which is risky business. If someone's lying on the floor, maybe try not shooting low, because chances are you're going to hit him and it's not going to go in. But luckily it did. And David Yates, if that's his name, let me check. What is your first name, Mr. Yates?
It's Ryan.
Ryan, close enough. David Ryan. I thought he was a centre back. Turns out he's a midfielder. There you go. What do I know? And he's not even a captain. It's Worrell who's the captain. I mixed it all up. But any which way, he's an absolute clown. He's even worse than Carvajal against Grealish in midweek, when he obviously was simulating like a crazy dog. But Joao Felix hit the ball in frustration, actually shot it at Gallagher. But Yates was rolling on the floor as if he hit him. The ball didn't even touch it. Anywhere near is maybe wrong, but it was more than like 20 centimeters away from him. Why was he rolling on the floor? So serves you right that he got hit in the head to concede a goal. So that serves you right. But yeah, 7.5 it shall be. And we move on to the final starter, Joao Felix. Good header from that Lewis Hall cross. Now, it wasn't the best header in the world, but it was for what I expect of him from headers, it was good. If this was like Havertz or, let's say, a proper striker, I wouldn't have said this was a good header. But for what I expect from Felix in these kind of situations, it was a good header. But I don't think it was great in general, I will say. I'm not saying it was awful, but I don't think he was great. I'm thinking whether he gets an average 6. I'm not sure if he did enough to even get a 6, the ground duels isn't bad, I guess. It's 3 out of 4, but 0 out of 1 dribbles. Of course, he's the striker, so therefore it's going to be less dribbles. That makes sense. But I'm going to say 5.5. I'm intrigued what the chat and what you guys think. So I'm very intrigued to find out. Tommy said Felix gets a 2.5. Jay says he gets a 3. Have I gone this much too high?
He's agendas, man. You guys have agendas. A 3? Come on. He wasn't that bad. What did he do to get a 3? I'm genuinely interested. Can you guys in the chat say how we do as well? Elaborate a little bit. I want to know. You didn't miss 3 chances or even a chance. I don't know. A 2 and a 3 has got to be terrible.
Yeah, Kuzi says Felix was there. That's it, and I do kind of agree with that a little bit. What did he do to get an average rating? Also kind of true, but I feel like we didn't.
He won 5 fouls. He was the only player in the first half looking decent on the ball.
He also dived, so that should be an automatic point reduction. But personally, by the way, just to touch on that dive quickly, he won 3 fouls apparently, but according to this year, maybe you saw a different stat. I think the yellow card was harsh. Maybe it wasn't a foul, but I don't think it was a full-on dive. I think to book him was harsh from the ref and was the wrong decision. I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say 5, but I still don't think it should be lower than a 5. Because to me, it's I don't think Felix should be playing in this position. Felix is not at all suited to be playing as a striker, in my opinion. As a lone striker in a 4-3-3, that's just not it for me, in my opinion. And therefore, he's going to struggle. What's he going to do against a back 5 of Forest? He's not going to win any high balls. There's not going to be enough space that he's going to wiggle through them. So he needs to be behind the striker to have a little bit of extra space to use his quality. So yes, he wasn't good. But part of it is why did he play there? I think that's more than Frank. I think Hubbard should have played. And I will remain with that would have been much better, that Kai is much better at doing this than Joao Felix is. But hey, here we are. I'm going to say 5. A lot of people in the chat do disagree, but we'll see. Pice, what would you give him, though? Or do you now agree with my 5, actually? I will give the chat a poll to see what they actually think. Pice, let me know what you think.
I'm gonna go with a 6. I don't think he did anything, below a 6. I don't think he did anything higher than a 6. Thought he was okay on the ball. Thought he had some decent dribbles. The header, I'm not really going to give him huge points for. So yeah, I think it's just a 6 really. I think the thing is I enjoy watching him play football. So maybe I've got a little bit more of a bias, whereas some people want, the effectiveness. I see some people say like, oh, he's all flash, doesn't do anything, but I don't know. He's just the type of player that I like, and again, like it was sort of a false nine today. I don't really think. I mean, I don't really know what his best position is, but he's not really played here much, to be fair, in this particular position. So not in a 4-3-3 anyway, to be fair. So I'm going to say 6. I think he did okay, like just average, like kind of what I said for Enzo, like just nothing higher or lower in my opinion.
Fair enough. That is your opinion. Adash, a 5 from me, a 6 from Pice. Are you going to agree with the chat? Are you going to agree with any of us? What did you make of Joao Felix?
I think I'm going to go with the 5. I have like similar feelings towards Felix as Pice. I think he is that kind of player that you enjoy watching. That kind of player who gets you off your seat, who like makes you wonder like, ooh, like what's he going to do next? Like, I think just in isolation, I really enjoy watching him play. But I just don't know that he. It's also a product of the circumstances right now in terms of that we're just not playing well, and so having that kind of player is like almost the worst profile that you can have at this moment, because it's clear that in the right system, in the right environment, he will have some output, and then the output, the fact that it isn't as much output wouldn't be as much of an issue because the team is playing well overall. But now the kind of onus has to fall on him because we're paying so much for him, and because he is that kind of flary player, that the onus does fall on him to kind of have some output. And then when the entire team doesn't do it, it just gets kind of magnified onto him. But yeah, I think he didn't do too much. I thought the header was kind of good, did what he could, at least to redirect it. But apart from that, didn't really do much at all. Wasn't involved in play too much. Just won a couple of fouls, which we didn't do anything with anyways.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think what you explained there, I fully agree that he's the one for that gets you off the edge of, like on the edge of your seat or off your seat the most. But so did Adel Taarabt, and and like Isaac says here, yes, Felix gets you off your seat, but it just ends up being a waste of energy because you sit back down straight away, which it doesn't always apply, but applies too often. Where I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, he gets me off my seat, but if there's nothing to that at the end for 95% of so far his spell at Chelsea, then I've said it a few times now. I don't think we should keep him personally, unless Mount decides to not stay. Then I'm like, okay, might as well try and keep Felix and see how good he is on the pitch. But I don't think he's going to be that good on the pitch because I don't think he's going to work hard enough for Poch, and I think there would be a lot of games that Felix would even start. And then I'm like, so you're paying 16 million for a loan when he's not even starting all the time? That just seems like a silly idea for me. But hey, here we are. Joao Felix gets a 5.5 overall with 2 5s and 1 6. Kai Havertz for Felix and Hakim Ziyech for Madueke were the only 2 other subs alongside Ruben Loftus-Cheek, which was before the break. So only 2 subs in the second half, which, considering we didn't win and considering we had Mudryk on the bench and Pulisic on the bench and David Dacha Fofana on the bench, I think that's a bit poor, Mr. Lampard, but we'll get to you later. To be honest, especially Kai, I don't even know. Like, I'm either giving him like an average 6 because I can't remember anything, or I'm giving him an 8. Accurate pass the case, 7 out of 8. All right. Ground duels, 1 out of 2. Aerial duels, 1 out of 1. Got us 1 foul. He had 10 touches. He came on in 75 minutes and had 10 touches. So I would say NA. Would you agree, Adash, or is there anything of a rating that you'd want to give him?
Yeah, NA. I think wasn't involved. Didn't really see too much of him. Not by any fault of his own. Just kind of product of the game when he came on and stuff. Yeah, I don't think fair to rate him necessarily.
Fair enough. Pice, would you agree with an NA, or is there anything you want to say and rate Havertz for?
No, I would go with NA, to be honest. Like you said, he had 10 touches than this, so I didn't see much.
Exactly. Does the same apply to you for Hakim Ziyech? You certainly have more touches. Let me see quite how many. He has.
So I would probably give Ziyech
touches.
a rating. I would probably give Ziyech a rating. I think he did. I think he did all right coming on. To be fair, I would give him a 6 for Ziyech. I think he did okay.
I will tell you something now, which I assume will change your mind. Cross stat 0 out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because usually
it's not good.
like in the last few weeks, you've often mentioned the crossing stats. So I'm like, maybe if you didn't know about this might change your mind to go a little bit away from it. So I agree that he was good and he brought something. Not sure whether it was the thing that we needed against. I'm not sure if against Forest, who played a back five, and we had Havertz, Sterling, and only Ziyech. I guess Ruben sometimes pushing into the box, but still, I don't think the guy that constantly crosses the ball with like whip high is what we needed to score a goal, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that's on Frank, not on Ziyech. I'd probably say 5.5, but a 6 wouldn't be too far off. Adash, if you gave Ziyech a rating, what rating would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I was leaning towards an NA to begin with, but if I had to give him a rating, I would probably say like a 5.5. I don't know that it makes a difference, but yeah, I just don't think, like you said, right profile to come on at all. Don't think it was the right substitution, which we'll talk about, I guess, when you get to Lampard. But also, like, he is just what he is, and he will never change in terms of the style of play that he has. And I think I'm just kind of like tired of it at this point, especially after the January kind of transfer saga where with PSG. I'm just kind of like, okay, let's just sell him in the summer and then move on. He's never gonna be a starter for Chelsea.
Fair enough. No, I completely agree. I mean, he was already in Paris. I don't really understand why he's used. Like I touched on it earlier already. I understood maybe why Frank would have wanted to keep Sterling on the left, and therefore, I mean, he could have brought Pulisic on for the right, but Pulisic is leaving this summer just as much as Ziyech is. So, as much as Ziyech was already in Paris, neither of them are going to stay. So at that point, which one of those two he picks doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I've never seen Mudryk play on the right. I don't know if he could, but I understood why he wouldn't shift Sterling or take Sterling off after just having scored 2 goals. So I understood that a little bit. But let's get to Frank Lampard's rating, and then we're going to round this one out. Let's not beat around the bush for unnecessary amounts of times. The lineup, obviously, clearly got it wrong with starting Mendy, that's for sure. So I guess we have to deduct some points for that. I like that he, in the end, even though Hall wasn't amazing, I like that he still started him and didn't fall into the trap of going for experience and started Aspie in the end at left back. I'm glad they didn't do that. Yeah, I mean, if Kante wasn't fit, probably I would prefer Ruben to Kovacic, but yeah, that happened before the break anyway. So, and yeah, Havertz over Felix. And in the end, you can't say that Mudryk in not starting instead of Sterling was a bad decision because Sterling scored the 2 goals. So, what do I give Lampard in the end? As much as he was the one that picked Mendy, I don't think he could have expected Mendy to do on both of those goals what he did. So I'm gonna say 4.5 because, like, you made 2 subs when we were like, when did they score the equalizer? Like they scored the 2-2. It took him 11 minutes to make subs, and then he only made 2 and didn't make any more. It's like you don't even want to win. Like that. That's what that felt like. So that's why I'm gonna go below the 5. But I don't think it was the most dreadful like lineup and managerial performance that we've seen from Frank. So yeah, and he didn't lose, which for Frank is actually impressive. So 4.5 it shall be from me. Adash, what about you? What would you give Frank?
Can I give him like an NA? I think I'm just tired of rating him.
I'm not sure how you'd want to do that, but
yeah, maybe a 5.5 is what I would go for. I mean, I think in terms of lineup, I think you hit the nail on the head. There wasn't too much that he did wrong. I mean, he couldn't have changed it that much. Obviously, the Mendy decision didn't necessarily pay off, but I think it was at least worth a shout. It was worth kind of that experimentation, so I don't necessarily fault him too much for that. The substitutions did kind of irk me. Just if nothing else, like, you have these players on the bench, just use them and go all out for it. This 1 point isn't ever making a difference. And especially like with Fofana, like, just bring him on. Like, it's not going to make a difference. You can bring him on and Havertz. You can switch to like a 3 at the back, or you can do any number of things, but he just didn't do that. But I mean, at this point, we know exactly what he is. We know exactly what he isn't, which is a good tactically sound manager. So I think it's been the same story for the last 7-8 games that he's been here, and yeah, just that's how I would give him an NA. But I guess 5, yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Pice, would you agree with a 5? Would you say 4.5? Would you go lower than that? What would you give Frank?
I'm thinking around about a 5 because I think not formation, but lineup, how we played, obviously the result probably mixes in around a 6, but then I think the substitutions did. I'm not saying annoy me, but it's just like really like Ziyech and I kind of get Ziyech because obviously last week he assisted, but I just think when you got Mudryk and Pulisic as well off the bench, Pulisic was obviously like had his best form under Lampard, and he's notoriously very good off the bench. I don't know. I would have preferred one of those two guys, or maybe even both of them. But I can understand obviously why he kept Sterling on because of the 2 goals. But I would have liked to see maybe Sterling move out to the right and then Mudryk come on the left hand side. I think that could have been something that I would have liked to see. Little switch there, but it is what it is. I don't want to be too annoyed. Just think it's pointless really getting annoyed at this stage. But yeah, I would have liked to see a sub at half time as well. So
Do you not understand though? Because obviously the Ruben cover sub happened just before half time that he didn't make another.
No, I would have brought an attacking sub on, or maybe gone to, even like a 4-2-3-1 and put Ruben in a pivot. Why not? He's played there loads. So yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Go on.
I wanted to say, so Frank Lampard said, I know Matteo had a bit of an issue going into the game. It was clear yesterday in training.
Okay.
I haven't followed up. Yeah, I mean, like, why? Why?
Okay,
why?
I mean,
why?
Like, I'm definitely tweeting that out
put it in our group chat as well. Like, sorry, Frank, are you a moron? Like, have they shat in your head? He has an issue where there's nothing to play for. And you choose to play. I mean, Chukwuemeka is now on World Cup duty under 20s, but not like you used him before. You have Ruben there. You have all sorts of fucking players. But no, let's start the guy with an issue. Fuck's sake, man. Like, how stupid can you be? Sorry, that made me extra angry now because how can you do that? Like, how can you do that? Sorry, guys, but that really pissed me off now.
He could have literally played Lewis Hall in his preferred position. And instead,
but who would have played left back then, though?
Aspi, somebody, I don't know. Body issue.
Maybe I'd prefer a Kovacic with an issue than Aspi, but that really triggered me. Like, why would you do that? It's just, or like Pice said, play a 4-2-3-1 instead. Start Ruben and Enzo, play Felix behind Havertz, play a 4-2-3-1. Like, if you don't really have the numbers to play a midfield 3, it's just stupid. But hey, here we are. I think it's about time we round it out, ladies and gentlemen. I know there's not that many left of you guys. Like I say, I totally understand. But those of you that are still here, I appreciate you very, very much. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Hit that like button for me. Let's get to as many likes as possibly can on your way out. On the poll, by the way, I gave you multiple choices like 1-2, 3-4, and 5-6. The Felix 5-6 1. Which what did we give him in the end? 5.5. So 5-6 seems about right from that perspective as well. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com, as well as his Twitter. A shout out to Adash for coming on and giving us his time. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards, and we'll see you next time.